What's going on, everybody? I'm Jabby KOAY, joined by SYNTELL KOAY.
What's cracking, baby?
So we're watching a video from one of my favorite creators. His name is McCullough. I'm never going to be able to say his last name correctly until he says how to say his last name. But anyway, he's an eccentric character if you've never heard of him before. Very, very fun guy. Very smart, very informative, and a super nerd like myself and SYNTELL. And so he's got a video here called Being Gay is Annoying, which intrigued my curiosity, piqued my curiosity. And so he's openly gay. I don't give a shit, but I want to see what he has to say about that. And so, you know,
yeah, sure.
We are accepting here on the Cinepals channel.
I'm excited to kind of like look behind the curtain. How does all this work? Why is it annoying? You know what I'm saying? Shoot.
I have a sneaking suspicion as to why he is saying that, because he does not openly like go around saying, I'm part of LGBTQ. That's not his style. He doesn't really go with groupthink. If you guys haven't already, subscribe, bell icon, all notifications, pretty please vote this up. Let YouTube know you're enjoying what you're watching while you subscribe and upvoting. Subscribe to JJ's channel, link in the description below. Subscribe to SYNTELL's channel, link in the description below. Here we go.
Hello friends, my name is JJ, and I just want to start by saying that as an openly gay man, I am extremely lucky to live here in Vancouver. Even within my own lifetime, I have witnessed an enormous decline in the social acceptability of overt homophobia in my community, to say nothing of homophobic violence. And that is definitely something that a lot of gay people elsewhere in this world cannot say with nearly the same level of confidence. But that being said, even in a tolerant society, being a sexual minority still means being a minority, and thus living a life in which being understood and accepted by the majority will often be an uphill battle. And that means even when you're not facing open, ugly prejudice, life as a gay person can still be quite irritating at times due to an ongoing lack of understanding many otherwise well-meaning people have towards gays. In fact, somewhat paradoxically, I dare say that the rise of greater social tolerance towards gays, or at the very least, the expectation of that sort of tolerance, has probably helped enable some of the obnoxious behavior directed at gay people I want to talk about today.
Can you see where this is going? You must have experienced something like this too, like where people are trying so hard to be, you know, inclusive and like, I'm with you, man, power. you know what I'm saying? Power to the people.
Be like, which people? Who people you talking about? No,
yeah, exactly.
On the receiving end of one of my biggest pet peeves as far as this kind of stuff goes, namely citing a gay person's gayness as the single most relevant and important thing about them. As you guys know, I have been quite active in opposing a piece of legislation that has been making its way through the Canadian Parliament, Bill C-11. I've talked about it a billion times, and I was recently
Do you know about C-11?
Nope.
The short version of it is, and forgive me because I'm like, I have a very fraction of an understanding of this audience.
Okay.
Canada is trying desperately to restructure how YouTube works in Canada, where the focus is more on Canadian-based stuff, almost like America. It's like they want Canadians to basically be like Canada, and it's gonna like change the, how do I explain this right? It's like this kind of patriotic, nationalistic, jingoistic sort of thing, you know, and it's gonna screw up everything with YouTube, supposedly.
In China, it's like, unless you know, speaking about Chinese situations and issues and whatever it is, their social media is geared solely for Chinese.
Yeah.
And majority Chinese. Right?
Yeah. Part of the issue is that if you're an American creator or not talking about Canada stuff, you might not get seen by the Canadian audience as much. That's part of the issue. Yeah.
by the Canadian press, one of this country's major news syndicates, about my efforts. And in the ensuing story, here is how they identified me on first mention. JJ McCullough, an LGBTQ content creator from Vancouver. I mean, on one level, yeah, this is literally true. I am a content creator who is LGBTQ. But is this really the most relevant adjective that readers need to understand who I am? The video you are watching right now is actually one of the very few I've ever made in which I discuss LGBT issues. Viewers are sometimes surprised to learn that I'm gay, just because it doesn't often come up on my channel. The fact that I'm 38 years old, or middle class, or even white is probably more useful information to an uninformed reader trying to get a sense of what kind of creator I am. But to a certain sort of person, I guess the fact that I'm gay is the most noteworthy thing about me. The thing that jumps to the top of the hierarchy of relevant JJ facts, because for them, gay people are still this very rare and exotic class of creature, meaning it is always very exciting and newsworthy whenever a gay person does anything. It's not just me, of course. Lots of public figures wind up getting defined by their sexuality in a similar way. Before anything else, their reputation is being the gay actor, or the gay musician, or the gay newsman, or the gay CEO, or whatever. Even worse is when you get compared to other gay people who are in a sort of vaguely similar field to you, but with whom you otherwise have very little in common other than the fact that you're also gay. So for example, I have had people compare me to Dave Rubin or even Milo Yiannopoulos, two men with whom I feel I have very little meaningful overlap, beyond the fact that we are gay guys who have opinions on things, I guess. But if you think of people as being primarily defined by their sexuality, then analyzing the careers of people in a way that begins with their LGBT status and working down from there makes perfect sense, I guess. I mean, I do think it is good when we acknowledge members of minority groups whose very existence represents social progress, those who have accomplished things that people like them would have never been permitted to achieve a generation ago. But there definitely comes a point where the existence of that social progress is now pretty obvious to everyone, and fixating on somebody's minority status as like the fact about them starts to cross the line from being supportive and celebratory
I'm so happy that
to
you're
just
showing this right now.
reductive and condescending. And speaking of condescension, here is annoying thing number 2, unsolicited approval of gay relationships. But before we get to that, I hope you will permit...
You see the picture? This Karen over here.
Going out of her way.
I am not part of that community, but for some reason this does irk me. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about that, but it irks me. I don't know why.
It's the dude on the right, the picture with the eyebrows, and it's like, here we go again with this thing. Yeah.
It's like when I encounter a lady who's like so happy about this, I'm just like, what the f- are you so happy about? They're just people and not zoo animals. Like, can you calm down? Jesus Christ.
Here is something that has happened to me a few times that I think many of my gay viewers will be able to relate to. I have been out on a date or out with somebody that I'm seeing, and some stranger comes up to me and congratulates me for what I'm doing. Like, here is a specific example. A while ago, I was on a first date with some guy, and I guess things were going well because we were holding hands as we were walking together through the park, and this random middle-aged woman comes up to us at one point, and she is like, I just wanted to say that I think what you two are doing is just great. I can tell you guys are just so much in love, and I think that's wonderful. God. Now, cringe is that...
Yo, what the hell? Ugh, why? Yo, I remember I was talking to a friend of mine back in college. I don't remember if she's half white, but she's definitely of African American descent. And she said she was walking once through the school and some dude saw her, didn't know her, and like just saw her ethnicity and was like, oh, look what I'm listening to. And it was like a rap album. This is like 20 years ago. So I feel like today you wouldn't catch that, but it's still just like so cringy. Like, why would someone do that? What the hell?
You'd be surprised, man. You'd be surprised of what people will do when they come across something that they are not typically used to seeing.
Yeah.
Sounds, I have repeatedly been on the receiving end of comments very much like that one many times over the years. Some people apparently think I crave strangers' approval of my relationship, which might not even be a relationship in the first place. Obviously, I understand what is motivating this, and obviously it comes from a good place. People are aware that there was a time in which showing any sort of same-sex affection in public would be extremely risky behavior, and by going out of their way to express that they're okay with what they're seeing, they want to demonstrate how far society has come. But I don't think the opposite of overt prejudice has to be overt approval. I frankly think it is far more reflective of social progress when once controversial things become so common that they are not explicitly remarked upon anymore. But, you know, when people go out of their way to ostentatiously declare that they are cool with gay people doing some gay thing in public, I think we all know that it's really more about them. They are seeking to broadcast their own pride in their own personal sense of enlightenment, which is a good thing to have, but hey, maybe keep it to yourself, eh? All right, and the third obnoxious thing I want to talk about is the relentless sexualizing of all same-sex relationships a gay person has. What I am talking about here is this idea that if a gay man is friends with another man, or a gay woman is friends with another woman, then they must surely be in love with them and want to have sex with them. Or, from the other perspective, if a straight man or woman is close friends with a gay person of the same sex.
I'm a little bit guilty of this. I was hanging out with my former best friend, Michael, who JJ actually kind of reminds me of, just in terms of how smart he is. We were at a party, and there was a guy who I knew was gay there, and I knew Michael was single. So I was just trying to kind of help out Michael with, pairing up. That's the only instance like that, whenever that kind of thing comes up, where I was hanging out with Michael and there was another gay guy in the wild. I'm like, oh, let me try to matchmake here. But to be fair, I will do this with straight people too. So this is not limited to the LGBTQ community. Like, I do this with everybody. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's about as far as that goes for me.
With a gay person of the same sex, then surely that person must actually be gay as well, or is at least in the process of turning gay. Gossip of this sort is something that I have personally often been on the receiving end of whenever I have a close friendship with a straight man. When I was younger, I noticed it tended to be something that worried some of my male friends' parents in particular. Like, you sure are spending a lot of time around that gay guy JJ. People are gonna start asking questions. So the idea that gay people have some sort of out of control predatory lust is, of course, a very old stereotype, but a version of this has also survived and thrived in more modern times, where it is often weirdly integrated into a form of progressive tolerance. So maybe the gay friend isn't necessarily turning his friend gay per se, maybe he's just helping him come out. And isn't that nice? Oh, what a nice thing you're doing, helping him out like that.
I am absolutely tickled about this. This is probably one of the more interesting videos I've seen in quite some time, because the parallels are beat for beat. If you are of anything that is outside of what normal society deems safe, every members of those group go through this. Every single thing, everything from being who you are in public to the influence of who you are on people that they deem to be normal, to everything. So it's just always fascinating to see other groups of people that are considered to be outliers express that same type of frustration. I'm loving it, because I'm like, bruh, we are kindred spirits.
Yeah, for sure. So I think it's wrong to assume that, just because your son is friends with a gay person, that gay person is predatory in some way. That's wrong to assume. However, I've been on the receiving end of predatory behavior from gay dudes way more than I care to count. You've seen it. It's happened right in front of you in Long Beach. I'm on the receiving end of that way too much. And I'm like, what the dude? I said no. I said stop. I said no, I'm not interested. Stop asking me if I'm curious. No. Stop it.
Well, I mean, it's a flattering moment when somebody likes you.
It's a compliment. Those experiences have definitely taught me what women go through, all the time.
I can certainly understand that.
Yeah, what I've experienced a handful of times, they experience every day.
And isn't that nice? Oh, what a nice thing you're doing, helping him out like that. Whatever narrative people dream up, I really hate this way of thinking, because I see it as such a big obstacle to building meaningful friendships among diverse peoples, and in turn, an obstacle to building meaningful, diverse communities more broadly. I don't think it is good when gay people only have gay friends, or straight people only have straight friends. But if people insist on relentlessly sexualizing friendships that transcend sexual groups, then people will be rationally nervous about having those sorts of friendships. And like I said, it's not just about stamping out homophobia either. Yes, some straight people will clearly find it offensive if people think that they're gay, but I think that when you sexualize a friendship...
There's so many instances, so many, oh my gosh, so many. Even at work, at school, or whatever it is. And there's like black folks, we call it the 5 rule, right? As long as there's less than 5 black people congregating at one time, general society feels like a safety. They're like 5. You know, for me, it's more like the 3. I mean, for me, it's not that high. It's
I was
been
about to say,
3.
I think 5's a big number.
Yeah. For me personally, it's been 3. If I'm talking with one other person, people just kind of like, you know, go about their business. If it's 3 or more, then we start having problems. And it's like, what are you doing over there? And he said something that I think is also really important too. And that is, if you are forced to only have to deal with only your specific group, then no growth comes. And to be pigeonholed for whatever the thing is that makes you as a minority amongst a larger populace, all it does is reinforce the negative thoughts, because you can't spread, you know, the good things about what make you to other people and have people understand you on that level. It forces, you know, the closed thought.
Right. No, I just remember being a kid and overhearing conversation from grown-ups in the neighborhood. And the fear wasn't necessarily with black people. It was just teenagers in general. When you had one teenager with another teenager, that's fine. 3 teenagers together, okay. But as soon as there's more of them, then it's like, that's a threat. And like, they're a gang. And like, gangs was a big fear when I was a kid. It's a big fear now, I guess, but just saying.
You're also implying a lot of negative things about what is motivating that relationship. Like, Billy's only friends with Peter because Peter's hot, as opposed to because Billy and Peter have a lot in common or respect each other at some deep personal level. It's elevating sex as the presumed main motive for why anyone does anything in life, which I think is a broader problem in our culture overall these days. Now, is it possible a gay person can have a crush on a friend of the same sex? Sure, of course. Anyone can be attracted to anyone. But I do think in general that most gay people are capable of grasping the concept of when someone is romantically or sexually unavailable. I think that gay people are often especially attuned to this, in fact, just because historically, one of the worst, most dangerous things you could do as a gay is come on to a straight person who is not interested. But even then, I don't want to imply that a gay person being friends with a straight person somehow requires this deep act of willpower to avoid sexualizing the relationship. A lot of times you just never think of them that way. In the same way you don't think about a lot of people in your life in a sexual way. I guess a lot of what I'm saying could also apply to straight friends of the opposite sex, which is also something that society tends to unfairly stigmatize and sexualize, and can foster enormous jealousy within straight relationships. But that said, I do think that male-male or female-female friendships are uniquely important things to protect, just because they tend to be the default form of friendship for most people. So when it comes to gay or lesbian people wanting friends of the same sex, I think we should be very careful in how we talk about these relationships, just because I think that same-sex friendships are some of the most important relationships any of us will ever have, which makes it cruel or even traumatizing to gaslight or pathologize gay people who pursue this very basic human need. So yeah, those are a couple of my personal annoyances when it comes to being a gay man living in the year 2023. I know I have a lot of LGBTQ people in my audience, so I would be very keen to hear from you guys about what kind of somewhat less common pet peeves you have about how other people or the culture at large treats you in the 21st century.
I'm not part of that community, but like what concerns me is when I see virtue signaling of any kind in the media. And it's like, okay, you're doing this now because it's safe to do this now. And it's a way for you to grab more viewers for your thing as opposed to being bold. It's like, if the most interesting thing about your character is that he's gay or lesbian or she's lesbian, like that's a terribly written character.
I agree with that.
Okay, they're people, just like anybody else. So just treat them like that. Stop making it special.
As people who are fans of storytelling, I think that is very important what you just said. In terms of storytelling. Now, there is something different that like I do believe on the flip side of that when it comes to like opportunities for like jobs and stuff, whereas certain groups may not necessarily get those opportunities because they're in those particular groups, and there does need to be some type of help in order to level the playing field. I'm with you in one way, but then in another way, I do think that there does need to be help.
I'm of two minds about that. The example I always use is there's a friend of mine who is an actress producer, and she's very much a champion of like, I guess equality is the easiest way to put it, but she's a very self-proclaimed feminist. She made some project, and what she did was she went out of her way to only hire female talent behind the scenes. Female director, female editor, female gaffer, this, that, and the third, and female writer. I'm like, that's a bit of an overcorrection in my opinion. I think that the best thing you could possibly do is just not discount them in considering who is the best person for this job. That's my approach. So it's like whenever I'm trying to hire someone, I don't give a shit what your sexual orientation is, what your ethnicity is, what your gender is. It's like, are you the best person for the job?
Okay, well, that's interesting. There's a video that's actually trending right now with Anthony Mackie making some statements. Anthony Mackie is an African-American. He's a black actor who played Falcon in the MCU.
Yeah, he makes all kinds of statements.
This isn't his first time being out there. But he had said something relative to the same thing, to kind of like what you were saying, and he was saying it in terms of when they shot Black Panther, they made sure that there were black grips, black gaffers, black actors, black the AD department, it was all black everything. And he was saying that in itself was racist because it's excluding other people from taking part of the project.
Yeah.
He caught a lot of heat from it. I can see where his intent in making the statement of that is. There may be elements of truth to that. But on the flip side of that, there are some groups who are so underrepresented that an overcorrection is needed just to even get the conversation started, just to get the ball rolling so people can get experience and make connections and to move forward. So I hear you when you say that there are overcorrections, and I do believe that does exist. I don't think that that is a wrong thing to say, but I do believe that everything has like this sliding grayscale, right? Of sometimes exceptions do need to be made in order to get progress going.
I feel so divided about that thing you just said. I see where Anthony Mackie's coming from. I just feel bad. I just feel bad for, like, let's say there's an Asian dude who's like super passionate about Wakanda Forever or Black Panther, and he's like, I want to be part of that, and he can't because he's not black. That sucks.
And that's what he's speaking on. What I'm saying, like, I don't think he's 100% wrong. I just think, it's an interesting perspective, and it brings up a cool conversation.
Yeah. And I don't think there's any wrong answer necessarily here.
It takes a lot of courage for JJ McCullough to come out. And I know people like overuse that terminology, like he's so courageous to be who he is and this, that, and the third. But it does. It legitimately does. And if he is a content creator who is solely focused on the art and what it is that has to be said, and he's not letting who he is be outside of the content define him, I think it's okay for somebody to have a human moment and be like, let me just tell you a little bit about who I am. Maybe that can give you context as to why I'm creating the art that I create. I don't have to beat you over the head and be like, every single video is, hey, I'm the gay dude, bringing you this gay content. It's just, let me let you look behind the curtain for a hot second, and then and then I'm gonna go back to doing me. I do applaud that.
This is not a conscious thing for me. It's like, I don't care about your gender, your ethnicity, your sexual orientation. If you make cool content, I'm watching you. It's that simple. I didn't know he was gay when I started watching him, and when I found out, I didn't give a shit. I'm like, okay, whatever. I like your content. So that's what matters to me at the end of the day. When I watch MKBHD, it's like, I'm aware that he's black, but that's not why I started watching him. I started watching him because he's just dope. He makes cool shit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's my feeling at the end of the day. You guys, hopefully you enjoyed this. Thanks so much for hanging out. Let us know your feelings, your experiences in the comments below, especially if you identify as being part of that community. We'd love to hear your perspective on things. Thanks again. I'm Jabby KOAY. This is...
Hey, it's your boy SYNTELL.
Peace out.